Commander ZYX-9 adjusted the atmospheric readings on her scanner for the third time, certain the equipment had malfunctioned. The planet below registered as Class 15, the highest possible threat rating on the Galactic Council's Deathworld classification system. Atmospheric pressure that would crush most sapient species, gravitational forces 3 times standard, and radiation levels that should sterilize any complex life. Confirmed, Commander. Her science officer reported through the COM, Class 15 designation verified. This world shouldn't support anything beyond extremophile bacteria. Yet the orbital sweep had detected artificial structures. Massive ones. ZYX-9 belonged to the Cathari, a species that had earned their place in the Council through careful expansion and methodical colonization. They avoided Class 8 worlds and above, too dangerous, too costly to terraform. Even the warlike Veltar rarely attempted Class 10 settlements. But Class 15? It was theoretical suicide. The landing party descended through the toxic atmosphere in reinforced environmental suits, their ship's shields straining against the planet's violent electromagnetic storms. Through the swirling clouds of methane and sulfuric compounds, structures became visible. Not the crude settlements one might expect from a struggling colony, but sprawling cities with towering spires that seemed to mock the hostile environment. Energy signatures are off the charts, reported Lieutenant Carter, the team's xenobiologist. Whatever lives here isn't just surviving, they're thriving. They landed in what appeared to be a designated area, marked by symbols that weren't in any council database. The ground beneath their feet registered temperatures that would vaporize water instantly, yet the surface showed signs of regular foot traffic. Deep gouges in the metallic soil suggested heavy machinery operation. Then they saw them. The beings emerged from a structure that seemed part building, part organism. They moved with casual confidence across terrain that should have killed them instantly. No environmental suits, no protective gear. They simply walked through conditions that registered as lethal on every scanner the Cathari possessed. The beings were bipedal, roughly humanoid, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer with an oily resilience. Their eyes reflected the planet's harsh light with an adaptive quality that spoke of evolutionary pressure beyond anything in council records. When they approached, their leader, distinguished by intricate scarification, made a gesture that could have been greeting. "Welcome," the being said in perfect galactic standard, though its vocal cords shouldn't have functioned in this atmosphere. "We've been monitoring your approach. I'm Marcus Chun, Settlement Coordinator for New Terra Station." ZYX-9's translator struggled with the word Terra, but the linguistic patterns were familiar enough to be unsettling. These beings spoke like they belonged to one of the Council's founding species. "You're human?" she managed through her suit's communicator. Marcus nodded, seemingly amused by her shock. "Third-generation colonists. My grandparents were part of the initial survey team that found this place. Beautiful world, really, once you get used to it." The Cathari team exchanged glances. Humans were barely Class 2 beings, recent additions to the Council, considered physically fragile with their single atmosphere limitations and narrow temperature tolerances. They required life support for anything beyond their homeworld's specific conditions. "How?" Carter whispered. Marcus gestured toward the settlement. "Adaptation, mostly. The first generation used genetic modification, CRISPR-Cas derivatives, synthetic biology, a bit of creative bioengineering. Nothing too fancy by our standards. Takes about 50 years to fully adapt a population to a new environment." He pointed to his skin, which ZYX-9 now realized wasn't shimming. It was actively processing the planet's radiation. Integrated photosynthetic patches, enhanced bone density, modified hemoglobin for the atmospheric mix. The kids born here barely remember needing environmental suits. "But this is Class 15, ZYX-9 protested. The Council's Xenobiology Department classified it as uninhabitable. Marcus shrugged. "Council's pretty conservative about these things. We've got 12 thriving cities here, population pushing 2 million. The mining operations alone produce enough rare elements to supply half the outer rim." As if to emphasize his point, a massive transport vessel lifted off from a nearby launch pad, its cargo bay clearly loaded with refined ores that other species could only extract through automated systems on much safer worlds. "We heard the Council was looking for new colonies," Marcus continued conversationally. "Resource allocation problems in the core systems? We'd be happy to discuss trade agreements. Our metallurgical output could solve your energy infrastructure shortages." SpaceOper stared at the human through her helmet's display. Her species had spent centuries carefully calculating risk, avoiding danger, building slowly and safely. These humans had simply decided that a world that would kill most Council species was beautiful and made themselves at home. "I'll need to report this to the Council," she said finally. Marcus smiled. "Of course. When you do, mention that we're always looking for trading partners. Though fair warning, most species find the gravity here a bit much for extended visits. We can set up orbital stations if needed." As the Kethari team returned to their ship, SpaceOper wondered what else the Council had underestimated about humanity. If they could casually colonize Class 15 Deathworlds, what would they consider a real challenge? The report she'd file would change everything. The humans weren't just survivors. They were adapters, shapers of worlds that shouldn't support life. And they'd been quietly expanding into places no one else dared to go. The galaxy, she realized, was about to become a much more interesting place.